This is the second video in a series of videos on common math mistakes that I notice while tutoring and teaching students. So let's first look at this example. It says solve x squared is equal to 16. And what I'll see students do is they take the square root, okay, of both sides. And what they end up with is they get x is equal to 4. Now x is equal to 4 is one of the solutions, but there's actually one more solution here. And the way you'll actually see this other solution is if you approach this problem in a different way. If you do x squared and then what you do is you move the 16 over, so minus 16 is equal to 0. So if you just rearrange this equation, you'll notice something about it. So this is actually a difference of squares. So if we factor it, we're going to get x minus 4 times x plus 4 is equal to 0. And so this has two solutions. One of the solutions being x is equal to 4, and the other being x is equal to negative 4. Okay, and to get these solutions, we're just taking each bracket, setting it equal to 0, and solving for x. So this should actually be x is equal to plus or minus 4. So whenever you take the square root, remember that there always needs to be a plus or minus in front of it. Okay, let's look at the next example. So it says expand, and we have 2x to the power of 3, or cubed in the brackets. So what I sometimes see students do is they'll write 2 and then x to the power of 3. So what they don't realize is that there's an imaginary 1 here. So this is 2 to the power of 1. And that 1 has to get multiplied by the 3 that's outside. So this should actually equal, so this is wrong, this should actually end up equaling 2 to the power of 3 x to the power of 3, which is equal to 8 x cubed. Okay, let's look at the next example. So it says simplify 2x minus 4 over 5 minus 3x plus 1 over 5. What I sometimes see students do is, so they'll start subtracting just by applying the negative to this 3x, but they forget to apply the negative to the 1 that's here. Okay, so then they end up with, once they simplify, they end up with negative x minus 3 over 5. But that's not correct. So the right way of subtracting these two expressions is, so when subtracting, you have to make sure that you put the second expression in brackets. So it should be 3x plus 1 all over 5. And then this negative 1 that's in front here has to get distributed. So you have to multiply both of these terms by the negative 1 to get 2x minus 4 minus 3x minus 1 over 5, which would give you negative x minus 5 over 5. Okay, so going on to the next example, it says simplify. We have x squared plus 5x plus 6 divided by or over x plus 3. And what I sometimes see students do is they just start canceling things. So For instance, they might cancel this x and this x, thinking that they're allowed to do that, or divide the 6 by the 3 to get a 2 here. And that's definitely not correct. Okay, so you should never start canceling things out before you factor. Okay, so the correct way, so if we were to do it this way, in the incorrect way, what we would get is, so we would have x squared, and then we would have plus 5 and plus 2, and so that would be over 1 because we ended up canceling these. That would leave us with x squared plus 7, which is wrong. Okay, so the correct way of doing this is we factor the top. So factoring the top, we're going to get x plus 2 times x plus 3. And on the bottom we still have our x plus 3. And right away we see that we have a common bracket. And so if everything's being multiplied, so these two are being multiplied, then we are allowed to cancel things out. We can cancel out a common factor. So we can cancel out these brackets. And what we're left with then is x plus 2. Now there is however a restriction, so we can't just write x plus 2 as being the final answer. We have to state that x cannot equal to -3. Okay, and that's because originally we had this x plus 3 on the bottom. And if we were to substitute -3 into this, then the bottom would equal 0, and then you would end up dividing by 0. Okay, so in this case, it's very important to, when simplifying rational expressions, to list restrictions, not just the final simplified expression. Okay, and so the last example we have, it says solve 4x squared is equal to x. And what some students would do right away is they'll just divide both sides by x, which will result in getting 4x is equal to 1. And then they go on to dividing both sides by 4 to get 1 over 4. Now this is one of the solutions, but it's not the only solution. And so this example is sort of related to example 6. The right way of solving this would involve first moving this x over. So what we would do, we would write 4x squared minus x is equal to 0. And then we would factor x out, the common factor, to give us 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. And so now we have two factors, x and 4x minus 1. And we would set each one equal to 0, so we have x is equal to 0. And we're also going to have, so 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. And so x is going to equal 1 over 4, just what we got before. But so this isn't the only solution, right? There's also x is equal to 0. So that's a common mistake that I noticed. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to my channel.